Welcome to Nick Speaks, everyone. This is a show where you will get a completely unbiased opinion on potential investment opportunities from condos to single-family houses and multifamily properties in Chicago and the surrounding suburbs. If you like the content, please share, like, and subscribe. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy the show.
Kati Catalogna.
I'm scared.
The queen of TikTok.
That's me.
Thank you for joining Nick Speaks today. That's awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for doing that. You kind of saving my ass today, you know.
Yeah. You switched your meeting with mine, so
Yeah, there you go.
quid pro quo.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so topic I want to discuss today. I mean, we're gonna try to keep it short and sweet.
Okay.
Now that you're starting getting more listings and you're getting into that, I feel that national progression of a real estate agent starts from, if you start from the bottom of the totem pole, you start with the rentals, then you progress to getting more buyers, and then you switch into listings. So the goal basically for almost every real estate broker out there is to get as many listings as possible, correct? Mm-hmm. Now, my question to you and us that we started the same day in Vesta,
we did,
right? So my question to you is, why do you think there is such a big incompetence on the listing side all throughout Chicago? How do you think these people actually fool sellers to list with them? I know, like I said, it's a very sensitive topic, and we don't have a filter here. I really don't give a shit of what people think about it, and I always speak my mind, but I want to get an opinion of someone. Like, I honestly think you're really good, like just listening to you talking to sellers on the phone, and there's a reason you're getting these listings, right? Like, the reason is that you're a great broker, and we're coached in a way that when we get a listing, we do everything possible to make the seller feel comfortable, to make sure that the way we represent their home it's like our own. We do everything possible. We show there's no lock boxes. We always show up. We always answer the phone, always answer emails, always approve requests. If you can't show up, somebody else on your team shows up. But the place will always be shown. The place will always be presented in the best way. Now that we work with so many buyers over the years, and we see how bad the representation of these people is, like, how do you think those people fool people to list with them? What is your opinion on that?
Well, first of all, this is not where I thought this conversation was going, but here we are.
Curveball right there.
But I think it's a combination of things. I don't necessarily think that I choose not to believe that people are like inherently bad. And so I don't think that necessarily people are fooling people, but I think it's partially because of what you were just saying, right? Like the natural progression of a broker is to start with renters and then buyers and then move to selling their homes and then helping them buy something else when they're moving up in their properties and their real estate journey. So I think it is just a natural progression. And one thing that I've noticed when I've starting this transition of working with buyers to sellers is that when I started working with renters and then transitioned into buyers, it was a lot more of a seamless transition for me, at least, because it's like you're dealing with the same type of thought process, the same type of sale process. Yep. Like, you're picking the place that you want and then negotiating based off of like your buyer's needs. With a seller, it's completely different process. It's completely different workflow. Their goals are different from when you're working with a buyer. So it's a very different transition. So I think that maybe a lot of brokers that don't have like the support that we have here at Vesta with a really strong team and great leadership and great mentors, like, you can get very lost easily. Like, there's definitely times where I have been talking to sellers and like I feel like a fish out of water, but I'm able to fall back on, you guys and my team and Brad and Greg that helped me like walk through how to not feel like an idiot or not misrepresent my sellers. So I think it's a combination of just like that. It is the natural progression, and people that have good relationships with their brokers, maybe they started out renting with them, then they bought with them, and then they sell with them, but that broker might not have a ton of experience on the sales side. And it is a completely different like shift in process and mindset when you're representing a seller than when you're representing a buyer. So to sum it all up, I don't necessarily think people are like fooling people or they're like trying to do anything bad or malicious.
Okay.
I just think it's natural and it's just a different process.
So okay, I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
He's like, be meaner.
No, not at all. Not at all. I don't want you to be meaner. Like, I just want an honest opinion, right? So
Yeah.
I'll give you let me play devil's advocate here, right?
Okay.
So I'll give you the argument that you started as a leasing agent and you help a couple. Actually, I'm going through that process right now, right? I'm helping a couple buy a home in Elmwood Park that I rented, probably 7 years ago. The sweetest couple ever, right? So I get it, and I give props to the people who stick with their broker over time. That's amazing. I personally think everyone should do that. But let's say I've been experienced a lot of pushback from listing agents in certain suburbs. I'm definitely not going to name names. This is not what we're doing. But I'm experienced a lot of pushback from listing agents that don't even show up to the showings, and they're more of established names. And we're talking about specifically 2 to 4 multifamily properties in the suburbs, like western suburbs, right? I've showed a lot of properties from them, and I've never seen their faces, right? And they let their sellers show the homes that they're selling. So. Yeah. Again, this is just one small example of what I'm trying to, like, what we're discussing here. But okay, so they don't have the excuse of like, hey, I'm not that experienced. I'll work my ass off to sell your home. I don't have that much experience, but I'll do anything possible to sell it for the highest amount and give you the best service. This is the natural progression. But what would you have to say about the other side, that those are the established brokers that already have a bunch of listings and they don't even bother showing up, and they actually let their seller show the property, which for me at this point, it becomes like, what's the point of using a broker? Right. And
that's where the whole conversation comes into play, where it's like, why am I paying someone when I'm doing the work? And ultimately, that decision is obviously on the consumer. And if they find value in their broker, maybe they really find value in like how they negotiate, but they don't necessarily see value in them showing the home, then whatever, that's completely up to them. But I think that it also it speaks to like the vast inconsistencies in our industry, which also makes it really difficult for consumers to pick the best broker for them, because there's like in the suburbs of Chicago, for example, it's very common for listing agents not to show their own listings and to use lockbox. And that's just like a norm out there. In the city, that's not necessarily the norm. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But my point is that there's so many inconsistencies, and there's no like baseline of like, I mean, there's a very low level baseline of what a broker's responsibilities are to their client, but there's so many different variations depending on what brokerage you're at, what area you're in, what market you're in, whether you're in Illinois, whether you're in Texas, whether you're in Boston. Like the range of service that you get is so different based on like what's the norm for the specific area. And then it also is inconsistent on a deeper level too, of like your mentors, your brokers, your team, like who, like for example, Eric, the attorney that we use all the time, he does virtual closings, which is like totally fine. But then there's a lot of attorneys that do go to closing. And then same thing with brokers. Like there's a lot of brokers that give closing gifts. There's a lot of brokers that do events for their, actually.
I don't do it.
Actually, I heard that one of your clients gave you a gift. Arthur.
Happened twice.
Oh my God. Okay, see, I'm out here giving people gifts and no one's ever gotten me anything.
For the past 3 out of the past 5 closings, like clients gave me like a gift card and a bottle of champagne. I'm like, I'm showing empty head. Like, oops.
And you're like, thank you. See you later.
Yeah.
That's so funny. But regardless, my point is that there's there's no standard. Like there's no standard baseline, because I don't really know why, and I don't know what the solution is, but I think that that's part of it too, is like a seller who maybe has only bought with someone showing on lockbox, like they don't know any different, So I don't know.
I personally think that the lowest of services that you can provide for a seller, that's my personal opinion, and I don't know if this is just instilled by Brett and Greg as coaching, but I think the very bottom, like the bottom of the service that you can provide is show up.
Totally. No,
this is my personal opinion, and I don't care if
I agree.
Again, I'm referring to people in the suburbs. So people are like, oh, it's too far away. I'm like an hour. I live an hour. Don't take the fucking listing.
Right. I had
don't take
recently
the listing.
Someone ask me, an agent that works in the suburbs, asked me if Ukrainian Village was a good area because he might have a listing there. And I was like, listen, if you don't know like anything about the neighborhood, or you're asking about the property, the location, the neighborhood, then like, just don't take the listing. Just don't like
you. And this is where the whole conversation started. And that's why I ask you, do you think that people actually fool people? Do you think that this is actually some type of a manipulation on a behalf of the agent to the seller? Because, okay, think about it. Let's say you're a seller, I'm the listing agent. I'm like, hey, Katie, you have $1 million home in, I don't know, Naperville. Mm-hmm. How about you give me the listing, you pay me 2.5%, and you pay 2.5% to the buyer, and you show your home.
I know, that's where I do agree. It's confusing because it's like, why? It doesn't make sense. But I get, that's what I'm saying about the inconsistencies in the industry, and that everybody works on a different workflow and like at different standards. And I am 100% on board with you that like the least you can do for your seller is show up and sell the property.
At least.
Like,
that's the bare minimum.
That's literally your job. But, I don't know. Like, I don't know, because I personally would never do that, and I don't know how like you come to that conclusion. Like when I'm selling myself for a listing, like I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna do everything. Like if you need staging, like I'm gonna set it up, like I'm gonna do everything. Like I'm gonna make sure when we do photos, I'm gonna make sure everything looks crystal clear, picture perfect, and like whatever. And I'm gonna do everything that I can to go above and beyond to sell your property. And like that is how I feel I win listings, but I have no idea what these other people are doing.
This is my question. Is like, for example, we provide AAA service. We're like up there with everybody else, right? We're like the quality of the photos, the videos, like everything. Like we're showing up. There's no lock boxes. We answer the phone. We answer emails. We work like crazy people. I mean, we're legitimately, you have to be a little bit like mentally deranged to work in this industry at all in general. But in our company, we're all workaholics. I know that because I see everybody. We work like crazy, and like there's not going to be a phone call unanswered, or text message, or email, or request for showing. Everything will be answered in a matter of hours, right? How are these people getting listings? That's why
I know.
This is why I wanted to ask your opinion, and I'm definitely going to have Anastasia too, because she does not have a filter. You're a way nicer of a person than Anastasia and I are, because we're single.
Because I do feel, I actually did this last week. I looked through all of my transactions, and I'm like, okay, who really are my enemies in this industry? Like, who did I transact with that I really did not enjoy? And I was clicking, because like I sold so many stuff or so many things. But I was clicking. And I was like, oh, that agent was nice. They were good. They were responsive. And there's really only a small handful that I'm like, I never want to hear your name, see your face ever again. So I do think that there's like the vast majority of our industry are good people that work hard and represent their clients well. And ultimately they do the most business. Like, I just think that kind of karma situation, what comes around goes around type of thing. So really, when I look at it from a holistic perspective, I do think that our industry is filled with good people. When I hone in on the idiots that I deal with, that I end up not selling their property, or, not putting an offer on their property, whatever, and whatever reason we don't get along, there's definitely some of that out there too, but let's not let like one bad apple spoil the bunch, you know?
Well, do you think it's one bad apple considering that 5% of the industry does 95% of the business though?
Okay, no, it's 95% of bad apples.
Really, that's my point.
But that's
you know?
the thing, like,
And
is
how do you like? Okay, one last thing, and I'm gonna let you go because I know you need to meet with the supreme leader. But
yeah.
give me advice for sellers. For example, okay.
Well,
so
actually, wait, before you say that, I want to
yeah,
say
of
one
course.
more thing. It does really hurt my ego when I am with a buyer and I'm like working so hard. I'm doing everything to like be prepared to know about the
and
property.
they go with the local agent.
No. I'm working with them and I'm on showings, and then we meet a listing agent. And they're like the weirdest, like most socially awkward, like know nothing about the property person ever. And I'm like, how? I'm just like, how are you listing this property? And like, I don't know. I'm just like, what? Because in this business, like we're all fighting for business.
Correct.
And you win business, you lose business, like whatever.
Correct.
And when you lose business and then you look at the person next to you that like,
They got it. Yeah.
I'm like, what?
How?
And it does hurt my ego, but you know, whatever. You can't focus on those things.
I mean, listen, you can win them all.
You can't.
It happens. It will happen. Like, it's not going to be the last first time. Like, it's going to happen again, correct? We are going to lose business because we do a lot of business. We are going to lose business to more incompetent people, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you know that sometimes you can't be compatible with everyone.
Correct.
Maybe sometimes somebody will not like your personality.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't imagine why you, because you're probably one of the most likable people I know. I'm a dick, so I know that like there are people that do not vibe with me.
No, I have clients that don't vibe with me either. Like I meet clients and I don't know. Like, do you ever have a client where you're like, I don't know if you ever drive your clients from
I
showings,
do
but
a lot, yeah.
sometimes I'll be driving a client to a showing and I've tried to
Kinda
keep the
awkward
conversation
silence at this
going,
point, yeah.
and then I just give up.
Yeah.
Like I'm just like, I just succumb to the silence.
Yeah.
But like there are some people that you just don't vibe with. I mean,
Correct.
there are people that hate people like me, like
There's
just
no
basic
fucking way.
girlies that are just out here having fun. People hate that sometimes. And like, that's just,
Really?
yeah. Have you seen my TikTok comments?
No. I mean, but
There's plenty of people that
don't
hate
read
me.
Don't read the comments though. Post and goes, you're good at like, but just to wrap it up, because I've taken a lot of your time already, but what would be your advice for a seller? And let's try not to sell Vesta.
Okay.
Like, let's say take Vesta out of the equation. Let's say we're not in competition for business.
Okay.
What would you be just a general, genuine advice for a seller when they're interviewing a broker?
I think that the first thing is, like we were just saying, you have to trust and get along with the agent that you're going with. You also have to be confident in the service that they're providing. So again, like whether for you, that's them being there on showings, that is the marketing they provide, their experience with negotiating, their past sales in the area, like whatever it is that makes you feel confident. And like, those are all data points that like some people like, one more than the other, or put more weight on one over the other. But I think it's really like having that good relationship and feeling confident that your agent is going to do everything that they can to sell your property. And you're not going to just be like another number on their list, and someone that's going to put like personalized hard work into your listing. I think that is the most important thing. That's always been in my career as an agent. The most important thing with my buyers and renters and sellers is that I always put my relationship with them first. And like, I will always tell them when to say no. And like, I'll never, in the interest of just like getting another deal, like if I genuinely don't feel like they should move forward with something, I will tell them not to, and give them my advice as if they were my friend, because that's how I would want to be treated by anyone that I'm working with, whether that's a real estate agent, an accountant, a car salesman. Like, I want to be treated like I actually mean something to that person. And that's what I try to do for all my clients.
Gotcha. Would you put professionalism or relationship first in a transaction? Because I know that sometimes, like we've talked about already, that you will not be best friends with everybody, right? Sometimes it's pure transactional professionalism, right? But would you put your professionalism first and then the relationship afterwards? Do you think that they're equally important, or do you think the relationship will be ultimately more important in the long term than the professionalism? What do you think?
Yeah, so there's definitely a fine line with professionalism, and I have never been a super professional person. I would say I'm relatively polished, or like I'm not like vulgar ever, but I definitely
That's the difference between you and me.
I at least have seen success with putting relationship first.
Okay.
Because again, at the end of the day, like we're all humans and we want to connect on a human level. And like I was saying, when I choose to work with someone, I want to work with that person because they see me as a person, not as a transaction. And I think sometimes when you are putting the professionalism piece like too far in the forefront, it can come off that way. You of course don't want to be like, calling your clients like crying or something crazy, but you want to keep a professional tone. But I think it's totally fine, and actually has benefited me a lot to really show my clients my personality, and really get to know their personality and form like a genuine relationship.
Kati Catalogna, ladies and gentlemen. Tell us where to find you on
Instagram and TikTok.
the social medias.
It's Kati Catalogna, and my name is Kati, no E. And there's also a silent G in my last name, so you'll have to figure that out.
I'll drop it in the description of the video. Like that.
Okay, great. Like and subscribe.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kate.
Thank you.